And all the only professions that my parents wanted me to do was either become a lawyer or a doctor. So I was pretty good in math and science, and I figured, well, I'll go ahead and be a doctor. I chose that to be a radiologist. I picked that because I did the research to find out what's the highest paying doctor that pays the lowest amount of malpractice insurance. And at that time, Google or whatever we were using that was Google adjacent said that it was radiology. So I thought that that's what I was going to do. I went to Duke University. Duke does not have an actual pre-med major for undergrad. So you have to pick something to major in, and that was public policy, with the thought that I was going to go to Capitol Hill. I was going to be a radiologist, go to Capitol Hill. I wasn't necessarily going to practice radiology, but I was going to do more policy and government work as it relates to the medical industry. So I had everything lined up for me. The whole trajectory of my life, I thought I had it planned out at 18 years old. So I went to Duke University, and what I was supposed to do is go to UNC, even though that's Chapel Hill is one of our huge rivals. I was going to go to UNC after graduating Duke University because they had a dual Masters of Public Health and medical doctor degree. So you'd come out with your MPH and your MD. So they had a really good program. So it made sense. My parents invested a lot of money into me being able to go to Duke. Very grateful for them in that they even bought me a house in Durham because they thought that, I mean, I was that kid. I had my life planned out. I took all the AP courses. I studied in summer breaks for the SATs so that I can get the highest score possible. I got straight A's, and I told them I want to be a doctor. I know I got scholarships to go to other schools to play basketball, but I don't want to play basketball anymore. I want to specifically focus on my education and my career. And they were like, that was music to their ears. So they bought me anything I wanted: car, house. I had a house built from the ground up, actually. But many people don't know that it's actually cheaper to live off campus than to pay room and board at some universities. So they were kind of making out a little bit better than if I had stayed on campus anyway. So that's how I like to explain that to them, as in defense. You were saving a little bit of money. Yes, you bought me a house, but you saved a little bit too. So I did you a favor. Anyways, but I think probably by year 2, when we start moving into actually doing internships at Duke University Hospital, which is one of the leading hospitals in the nation. And I had a great opportunity to work in the oncology hematology department. Didn't do enough research because I don't know what I thought radiology was, but being in the oncology and hematology department, interning while I had just lost my uncle to adrenal gland cancer, and my aunt was just diagnosed with breast cancer and was put into a nursing home because she had other various ailments. Being in that environment and realizing that this is actually what radiologists are doing every day, dealing with patients like this, in certain parts of the medical field, I was like, this is not for me. I didn't have the heart for it. And I realized that I really wasn't passionate about it. So that coupled with, and now I'm like older, so I don't care, I can tell the story, failing organic chemistry twice and having to take it in the summer, that, and the professors already said, like, look to your left, look to your right. One of those people are not going to be there. So I guess the person that looked to their left and their right, it was me. I was not the one that was going to stay in that pre-med program. Organic chemistry weeded me out. I was over it. But yeah, I wasn't passionate about it, but I was passionate about the policy, about the politics, about the business aspects of learning about the government, how policy is created, learning, that, a lot of the policies that are made are not, necessarily doing what they're saying they're going to do, because there's different parties in power. So being able to navigate that, I feel, gave me a lot of policy and business acumen that I was then able to translate into a corporate career. So after I decided that I wasn't going to go to med school, I still had to find an internship. And I got accepted into an internship with Ernst& Young. They actually created this internship for me. At the time, they were only taking accounting students. But the CFO, Alan Meister, very graciously offered for me to come work at Ernst& Young as an intern. And I was able to work in the public relations and real estate transaction departments, to where I realized that that's actually what I was passionate about. All these years of watching my parents, the reason they bought me the house also was because they were real estate investors. My dad had a small construction company. He invested in real estate. My mom, even though she worked for New York Life, had a corporate job, she also invested in real estate as well. And I grew up around that my whole entire life. Didn't really um, understand that I was learning from my parents, because I mean, right, like who wants to admit that they're learning from their parents when they're a teenager? But I actually did. And when I walked into rooms with these senior executives, these investors, portfolio managers, and I was able to talk the talk when they were discussing doing capital improvements and real estate transactions and closings and escrow and underwriting, I knew about all of that. So I was able to really advance in that field very quickly. So went from working as a property manager in New York City, managed a project, actually a capital improvements project for a complex in the Bronx. But I didn't really want to be in New York. I just was in New York because my internship brought me back to New York. After I left New York for college and realized that a slower pace was great, I really didn't want to stay in New York City any longer. And I was able to go and visit one of my best friends that I met in college. Her name is Brooke Flowers now, but she was from Cartersville, a small country town here in Georgia. And I was like, I didn't necessarily like Cartersville, but when we went to Atlanta, I was like, I like Atlanta. It was a nice mix. And, just kind of the way God had aligned it is that I got a job offer while I was visiting my friend. And I got a job offer to build subdivisions for active adult communities. So at that time, and I think it was about 2006, Atlanta was building exponentially. I mean, this was the place to be for construction, for real estate, for investments. Every block you turned on, there was a new subdivision development being built. They were paying a lot of money, and the cost of living was super low to what I was used to in New York. And yeah, so I just kind of fell in love with it. But, through the years, I think that having that business acumen, that policy acumen, I was able to translate my uh, real estate and construction knowledge and use that for other things. So when we're talking about capital projects, it's not only about the architectural construction and engineering. You also have to look at zoning, planning, and then there's usually an owner, being an owner's rep, the financing, feasibility studies. And as the years went on, technology was really a big part of every single building project. So whereas, maybe 20 years ago, builders might not have thought about putting in low voltage, making sure that they had strong wireless communications throughout their building, making sure that they had badge access control in the building, CCTV, which is closed caption TV, for the cameras systems. And I think that I really found a liking in that specific part of the construction industry, which started to translate more into technology. So, I mean, that's kind of like where I am now. My focus is smart cities, broadband, wireless, infrastructure, fiber, and helping companies go through the process of their digital transformation as it relates to the physical infrastructure required for digitizing and virtualization. I mean, I am very, very thankful to all of the companies that I have worked for. I've been able to learn so much from the first company I worked with here in Atlanta, up until now with Transformation Lead. And then, I think that technology companies are also realizing that there was always a gap between the construction industry and the technology industry. And the reason that I've been attractive to a lot of these companies and organizations is that I became that liaison. I became that bridge. I was able to speak both languages, and that's kind of what they needed. So, I mean, that's kind of how I got where I am right now. I was approached by Dennis Schultz, who's the executive director of Boatswain Technology, the foundation. Boatswain Technology has 28,000 members globally, over 70 chapters in 27 countries and counting. I am the president of Boatswain Technology here in Atlanta, and I'm also the co-organizer for the Accra chapter of Boatswain Technology that's in Ghana. So I do a lot of travel right now in that capacity, as well as with my role as the Director of Global Strategy and Programs for Transformation Lead. And Transformation Lead is a digital transformation company that provides technology solutions to increase their clients' business operations. And the CEO, I'm very, honored to be able to call her my friend. She's been my friend for the past 17 years, actually, since I've been here. And I recently came on board with Transformation Lead, and we've been making waves internationally. So just returning back from a U.S. Department of Commerce trade mission, a Global Diversity Export Initiative, where they had 19 predominantly Black-owned businesses go to the continent. We were able to visit South Africa, Ghana, and Nigeria to discuss starting businesses in those countries, as well as creating partnerships and doing import and export of goods and services from those countries. So, Transformation Lead is definitely on the move. We kind of call ourselves butterflies because we're, always evolving, always changing. And we are looking at technical ways, using technology to really leveraging technology to be able to grow and expand and operate your business efficiently. So we work with municipalities, large enterprises. Our municipalities will range from federal government, state, local, and now we're beginning to work with some governments internationally. So I have a lot going on. And then the other things that are on my resume, I am a teacher right now. There's something that I didn't add to LinkedIn yet, and that's just within the last week. I'm a teacher and instructor for ISACA. So ISACA has a partnership with Boatswain Technology, and we are hosting the first Atlanta cohort of the Certified Emerging Technology.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
Also weird if I would.
So, look, gotta love technology, right? So, so that's one thing I didn't add on there, but I'm a strategic advisor and a business development director for multiple companies. Live Bright is one of them. It's a concrete company out of California, women-owned, Asian women-owned in Northern California, construction and concrete masonry firm. Construction Check is a construct tech company where we're leveraging AI and machine learning to properly do cost engineering for large scale projects. So that is a new startup that's underway and still helping to grow and expand and engage with Boatswain Technology here in Atlanta, and helping the tech ecosystem here find ways to belong, right? Having relationships with our sponsors and our partners that prove fruitful for our membership. Atlanta is one of the largest chapters within Boatswain Technology, and the Atlanta community has really embraced us, as well as our corporate partners that are here in Atlanta as well.
And that was actually one of the questions we had is, can you tell us a little bit more and share about the organization Boatswain Technologies? Was it founded in Atlanta? You said maybe the largest chapters. Was it found it elsewhere. And then I'll see if I can grab some information, put it in the chat for people. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. So Blackstone Technology was actually founded in 2012 by Greg Greenlee out of Cincinnati, Ohio. So it wasn't founded here in Atlanta, but Atlanta, I've learned is if they're going to do something, they're always going to do it big. It's the Hollywood of the South, the Silicon of the South. We've got all these large tech firms that are moving here. So it's definitely no shock that Atlanta has a very large and thriving Black tech community. But Blackstone Technology is a global organization, and Dennis Schultz is our executive director. I believe he actually lives in New Jersey. So I do have a board here for the Atlanta chapter, and they've really helped out with engagements, and they have helped out with all of the planning and the events and spearheading a lot of the community outreach that we're doing here. So, we are looking to create more partnerships and welcoming more sponsors so that we can continue to do good in our community. I see one of the questions that came through, what is the benefit of becoming a member? So it is complimentary membership for anybody of the African diaspora that would like to join. And the benefits are, there are numerous benefits. So you've got the networking, you've got the community and the social benefits, the events and conferences, but you also are able to leverage the job board. So our sponsors, we lean on them very hard to, it's not enough just to write a check for the organization. We want you to be able to interview and employ people that are within our membership. So there's job boards, there's virtual career fairs, there's hiring events where people will get interviewed and hired on the spot. We also have partnerships with certifying organizations such as CompTIA, ISACA, Fortinet, Google, AWS. And through those partnerships, they are graciously giving our members access to free training and also free certifications. And some of these technology certifications, as many of you may know, can cost thousands of dollars. So we're able to offer that to our members for free through the partnerships that we've created throughout the years.
Now we've had some guests in here who are in sort of the technology, but they're not like sort of hands-on technology. We've had people in construction, and some of them are sort of in management, and some of them are hands-on. So let's see, are you hands-on in construction? Do you have tools, and can you put together? Is it your dad? You had that house built from the ground up. Are you handy with those kind of things too?
Yeah, that's something, I guess it's like if something that someone wouldn't know about me, if they didn't know me, is yes. So I do have the hands-on knowledge with being a general contractor and an OSHA safety instructor. In order to pass those exams, you do have to have the actual hands-on technical knowledge of doing the work. So I will probably say that I don't do as much work around my own house, but and I haven't been in the field, so to speak, for a few years now. So I'm enjoying being in management positions. But yes, I can. I am very hands-on.
And thank you. And tell us a little bit, again, I know you did a little bit, but tell us a little bit more about some of the projects and things that Transformation Lead is doing, and expand a little bit more on your trips to Ghana and how that all ties in.
Yes, so Transformation Lead, the CEO and I, we are really passionate about diversity and technology, being women, being Black women in the tech industry and in male-dominated roles. Definitely has presented its challenges, but both of us have very separate and diverse stories, but with one common goal. And I think that, she and I are both looking at the opportunity that we have through Transformation Lead to change the face of what technology looks like, and also bring awareness of how much tech talent is on the continent of Africa. So a lot of the outsourcing that's going on right now with the tech jobs, call centers, help desk, are in Asian countries. And I mean, that there's no secret about that. However, in our travels to the continent, specifically Ghana, we realized that Ghana has more resources than they have jobs. Whereas here, we're looking, there's, people are saying that there's a shortage of resources. So we're looking to have Transformation Lead be that bridge between the diaspora and the continent, first and foremost, making it easy and efficient to do business on the continent in various countries, but also being able to give our brothers and sisters on the continent access to jobs, careers, and opportunities that we have here in the United States.
One of the other questions was how AI now is impacting a lot of it. In fact, I had to leave it was a presentation on Chat GPT, which I've been using pretty extensively over the last a couple months with some pretty good success. So how is that happening there in terms of AI, impacting the construction and technology industry specifically.
Well, I actually think that as far as on the continent, they've been utilizing these technologies probably for longer than we are understanding, or that has been publicized, because the maturity of the startup community there is really mind blowing. And it's really about giving them access to a lot of the resources that you may find in Europe and in America. But I mean, AI as a whole, I mean, I think it is definitely something that has been around longer, again, than ChatGPT. We've been leveraging it for a long time. I think it's become a little bit more popular, not a little bit, a lot more popular. And but in these emerging markets in Africa, they've been at the turning point of AI and virtual reality. I mean, even if you look at how they do business, their money system. So fintechs here in the US, like Cash App and Zelle, those are the main ways that they are transferring, saving, and currencies within the continent, within the countries, and I mean, even intercontinental. So we're a little bit behind the eight ball when it comes to being able to advance in AI. And I think that's why we really need to kind of take advantage of the talent that's on the continent to help us get to where we need to go. And so I'm hoping that Black-owned businesses will reach back their hands to their brothers and sisters on the continent to leverage some of that expertise.
Yeah, someone mentioned here, I think Sarah said it started in the 50s. I mean, the Watson that was developed by IBM, is really taking apart. I mean, basically, any computer, anything that is doing any type of calculation, technically is artificial intelligence. It's
Right.
doing something. So, we're the terminology is relatively new, but the process has been around for decades.
Right.
And now it's just being unleashed to the general public. We'll see where that takes us. Talk to us a little bit about what's happening in Ghana, and because we've had a couple of guests here, the technology infrastructure there, the internet structure. You mentioned about fiber. What's the rollout of fiber here in the U.S. Because that's we're getting away from certainly getting away from twisted pair copper, which they're eliminating landlines,
Mhm.
and we'll, I guess, eventually migrate away from coaxial cable. So again, what's happening there in Ghana in terms of infrastructure and internet and fiber, and how does that correlate to what we're doing here?
Well, definitely Ghana is an emerging market. So there are a couple of challenges, but yet opportunities. for them to enhance their infrastructure. That's something that, if I were to be an advisor to the Ghanaian government, is to really start to look at investments as it relates to that infrastructure. So, we can start with the electrical infrastructure, then moving on to the broadband infrastructure. So here in the US, whereas, cell phones weren't really popular until what, about 20, 30 years ago, where everyone, probably 20 years ago, when everybody had a cell phone, most of the communication that goes on in Ghana specifically is cellular. So everybody has a cell phone. They actually have two cell phones, and I learned why. And it's because in some areas, they can use Vodafone, and then in other areas, they have to use MTN. So literally, you'll see people walking around with two phones. At first, I thought it was like, oh, everybody's got a business phone and a personal phone. And they're like, no, it's two phones because they have two networks, and I guess they know which one to use where. So, I mean, it's just very interesting, the way that they've been able to, even with the limitations on infrastructure, the limitations on the broadband and the broadband strengths, they have come up with very creative ways to leverage their cellular infrastructure to spearhead a lot of their technology and innovation.
You mentioned about in school really being intrigued by a lot of technical things and having a good school background, and thanks to your parents and I'm sure promoting the education. It's growing up in Brooklyn. I was in a Caribbean area, so I know that a lot of my Caribbean classmates, their parents were certainly more focused on getting them to pay attention and not allowing them to play out in the street, where we could just hang out. They would bring them in to study. How is that impacting now with students, our current students, our black students? I've lost track of what's happening in Atlanta with the student population. They're embracing technology, certainly using technology, but studying it. How's that happening? And are you guys involved in promoting, education for our black community in technology?
So from what I see, I don't have any children, so I don't have firsthand knowledge of the school systems from that perspective. But I actually have worked for several school systems here in Georgia. And I can definitely say that the students' technical acumen has increased, of course, during and after COVID, because everybody really had to rely on computers to do their classwork. I also think that just like in any other place within the United States now, with the social media and the internet, I mean, babies are navigating the internet now. So they definitely are starting off a lot higher than I was starting off as a kid when it comes to their technology skills. But of course, it's me living in Atlanta proper. We do face some disparities with the skill gap and the digital divide as it relates to broadband access for communities of color. So I am involved with several projects that are looking to aim to what we call stomp the divide. That's kind of a catchphrase for Blacks in technology. It's to bridge that gap, to lean on corporate partners. If you want to come here in Atlanta and build and take advantage of a lot of the tax credits that are given to these large corporations, we want you to be investing into the neighborhoods that need it the most and installing high-speed internet, for low-income families. Of course, now they've got the Affordable Connectivity Program that's out. There's a lot of organizations here, including Blacks in Technology, that are getting the word out there to different underserved communities and telling them about the program and the opportunity for them to get free or low-cost connectivity. Because what we're finding is that whereas internet and cable back in my days of being a kid was definitely a luxury. I don't think we had cable until I was like in high school. But now it's a utility. It's a utility just like water and electricity. So we are seeing that the children that are in disadvantaged areas do have a gap in their learning, in their technical skills, and that translates to their abilities to get into higher learning institutions as well as jobs. So there's a lot of focus right now on workforce development in the tech space. But I think that in talking about that, we also need to take a step back and address some of the systemic issues within the Black community that are causing some of those gaps as well.
One of the questions we have from our audience here is that does the technology requirements in the organization include art in the Adobe space? You know, sort of the artistic piece of that, because there's technology with that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, STEM has had an added letter now, and the A is the art. It's I think that art and is taking on a totally changing and being revolutionized. You can create digital art now. There's NFTs. There's way of making PowerPoint presentations and images based upon prompts in artificial intelligence. People are, doing digital art shows. They're being able to sell their art digitally. I mean, even if you look at just the way that artists are able to market and sell their products through e-commerce, through social media, all of those things are because of the evolution of technology.
Thank you. What are the other questions? Are you a member of the Black Chamber of Commerce in Atlanta?
I am. I am a very proud member of the Atlanta Black Chamber, and I am also one of the leaders of the Global Opportunities Committee within the Atlanta Black Chamber.
Okay. Have you visited us here in Los Angeles?
Oh, I
Sure.
was in Los Angeles Memorial Day weekend at the end of
Okay.
May, actually. Yeah, I've been there. We had AfriCon, which is an African conference and festival that celebrates the culture, the technology, and just the presence of the diaspora and people of African descent here in the U.S.
Good. I know you mentioned, so we know that, was it organic chemistry was your worst subject, or the one you didn't like? I didn't like chemistry as well. I did very well in school, especially math and science, but didn't like the chemistry.
I loved chemistry, I thought, until I got to organic chemistry. And then it didn't help that I believe in order to pass organic chemistry at Duke, you had to get like a C plus, which is like a 75 or something like that. So it's like you couldn't even, I mean, if you got less than 75, you failed. So yeah. So I mean, I thought I loved chemistry until organic chemistry. So I don't love all chemistry, I'll say that much.
I got a D and I celebrated that. I was like, yes, I passed it because I.
If they had taken a D, I think I would have been okay. I might be a doctor now. It's like, who knows?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because some of the advanced mathematics, you figure, well, why do I need this? Why do I need geometry or trigonometry? And that's a way of helping students sort of embrace it, because sometimes you don't see the need of what it is, and you may not use it exactly per se in life, but it teaches you problem solving, and so when you deal with something technical, and then with technical, I mean there's answers. When you're building something, there's something definitive. When you get into, sociology or politics or something, there may not be, there's opinions, but there's not an answer. But if
everything is relative. But I had a professor actually when I was still pre-med. He even told me that science and technology and medicine are really all about the art of rhetoric. And if you think about how theory is proven, if someone's able to replicate this, document it, and people are able to buy into it, it becomes facts. But is it really?
What words of wisdom did your parents give to you that you'd like to pass along to our group?
Oh gosh. It's so many words of wisdom. I feel like, now my mom is my best friend. My father has since passed away a couple
Oh,
of years
sorry.
ago.
Mm.
But my mom, they were very hard on me as far as like school and academics, and I so appreciate that now. And my mom being, an executive, vice president for New York Life Insurance Company, and she's only worked at that company her whole life. Basically, she worked it from 17, and she was able to retire at 59. And she says, "You always got to be better." And I then never looked at that like, I never thought anything was wrong with that. I just always knew that if I did something, if I went into a room, if I took an exam, if whatever I do in my career, I'm going to always have to work extra hard and be better than anybody else in the room. So that's kind of what I have been doing. And those are words that I live by. Um, Maybe a little bit too much because I am an overachiever. So I think I've kind of retaught myself to also celebrate some of my accomplishments, to slow down, to give myself grace. So those are words of wisdom for me, to me. But I think that I definitely wouldn't be where I am in my career if it wasn't for my parents telling me that you always have to be better.
At this stage, we can open up for questions. If you have a question for Meloni, raise your hand and we'll get things stacked up. Does anybody have any questions or comments to add? Steven, I see your.
I have a question. Mine's is based upon. I have a question. Mine's is based upon trends. What trends you see in technology? I know the big thing everyone's talking about is artificial intelligence, Chat GPT, Open AI, as well as some of the bioscience. What do you see the next trend of 5 or 10 years? And next minorities, what should we be keeping our eyes on?
I definitely think that the things that, it's funny that you said this, I was just having this conversation with someone, is that by the time these emerging trends are found out in our communities, it's almost too late to get in on the front end. We're always learning about these things on the back end, and that's giving us a disadvantage to catch up, right? Always playing catch up. So I think that the one thing that we can do is definitely, if we see an emerging trend. I think when blockchain first came out and was very popular, I knew about it and my friends knew about it, but we were always very fearful. One of the things that I love that William Buffett had said is, when people are fearful, like that's when you need to be greedy. And you need to kind of capitalize on that. If it's something that you don't know and you don't understand, then that's probably what the next trend is going to be. So you need to start learning there. But, now it's not too late. I think that the certification programs, some of the self-taught programs, we as a community really need to do better about gathering the information, studying the information, and implementing the technologies and the trends. So it's really all about access. So if we're getting access to the information as a community, being open to receiving the information. I know that there are, there's apps now for church that's going to be very hard for the Black community to adapt to. I look at, what they're calling mega churches now, and I'm like, that mega churches were a thing before, but they were white churches that were these mega churches. And, now Black people are doing that. And there's apps that, there's the Bible app so that you don't necessarily have to have a Bibles in your church. And so I've been talking to my friends about a lot of the ways that technology is changing some of the traditions within the Black community. And we need to not be afraid of that change and not be so resistant to that change, because it's going to happen. And that's where we keep getting left behind, is being afraid and resistant to that change. So definitely embrace it.
Are there you're talking about certification, and this will be my last question. Are there certification for like someone wants to become a chat engineer, chat, maybe an AI?
It's a prompt engineer.
Prompt engineering, yes.
Yes, there's several certifications for prompt engineering now. I can't necessarily say which one is the best because they are all kind of evolving. But there are a lot of self-learning modules that you can take in regards to prompt engineering. And I think that coding and programming, those are kind of entry-level tech sectors to get into to really be able to understand some of these emerging technology trends. So those are like kind of like the baselines for AI and VR, is understanding the Internet of Things, understanding coding, and being able to develop software, and then also being able to leverage some prompt engineering certifications.
So in the similar to the way that I guess robots and technology machinery replaced a lot of the factory jobs, and of course outsourcing that to overseas.
Mhm.
The theory is that AI, the harnessing of that will start to eliminate some of sort of the middle management positions. And there's a lot of people who have these jobs where they're really not doing a lot, but it could be easily done by AI. So do you see that impacting our community disproportionately, or maybe to an advantage? Where does that lead?
I definitely think that it's affecting our community disproportionately. Again, that goes back to the access, because even if I think we have to realize that we're a very technical society. We are a capitalist society, and revolution and emerging and change is going to happen, right? So right now, if you look at it and you think that, the mechanics, I live on the west side of Atlanta, there's tons of mechanics here. If I drive a Tesla, none of these mechanics can fix my car specifically. So what we need to do is we need to start upskilling. We need to start taking, if you are someone that loves cars and you're working on cars and that's your thing, start to upskill, start to learn about the technology that goes into autonomous vehicles and electric vehicles. What ends up happening is that not necessarily there may be some careers that are replaced by technology, and it's been happening for hundreds and hundreds of years. It's going to continue to happen, but then there's other jobs that start opening. And you have to understand that you're still going to need people to build these computers, to run these computers, to program these computers, to maintain the computers. So when you see that, okay, there is a shift that's happening, there's a revolution that's happening, instead of complaining about AI taking the jobs, it's like, well, how can I upskill in my role right now to where if someone wants to leverage AI, I'm the one that taught the AI, and kind of change the narrative a little bit there.
Right. And certainly in the design and the creation, I mean, that's an area. And we still need people to cook. AI is not going to be able to cook. Do you cook?
I do. I do.
Okay.
But I mean, we do have a lot of technology now that's you don't really, I mean, it goes further than the microwave. And now the microwave can do a lot more things than it did when I remember when we first got a microwave. I mean, the microwave was literally just for warming up food. So you weren't cooking anything in the microwave. Now you cook stuff in the microwave, cook stuff in the air fryer. So, but again, like you said, you will always need that human element. And then when we think about creativity and design, as you stated, I don't see AI in my lifetime replacing the creative element to anything. And I've witnessed a lot of evolution just over the couple of years with AI, even in the arts and music space. And it's still not as good and as authentic because it's missing that human element.
Yeah. Even though a lot of our artists have been using technology, auto tune, and
Yeah,
so the voice you hear is really not the voice. By the way, have you and Bianca met? Bianca, have you met, or do you know? Bianca Vobecki. She is in construction here in the Los Angeles area.
Awesome. Okay, another woman in construction. Hey, there's not a lot of us. We actually, I mean, I'm sure you know Ann McNeil of Nabuick. She's one that everybody knows across the world, it seems like. And then my mentor is Tanya Hicks. She's a journeyman electrician who owns an electrical company here in Atlanta. So we all kind of run in the same circles. So I definitely will be connecting with you.
And as far as artists, and again, I had the privilege of going to a class learning about how AI can generate art. We have on the line Miss Brooks, who's one of our resident artists. And have you had a chance to use AI in far as your artwork and Ardina?
Actually, I'm working on a book as we speak, and my cover is going to be designed. Well, we're going to look at it, but the cover is going to be designed by AI, and we'll see how that works out. But I'm a designer as well, graphic design, photo restoration, and also digital art. So I'm interested in, learning more information, but I'm also interested in getting more information about the technology, how it crosses over with the art.
Right. I mean, it's wonderful that you're in that space. And we need people like you when it comes to machine learning and AI. We need you to be able to be in the rooms when this development and engineering is happening. That's how we get AI to be better. It's about bringing the experts, pulling everything that's out of the expert's brain and feeding it to the computer. And basically it's being that physical trainer for AI. That's what people like you who are extraordinarily talented within your field would be able to do in the tech space specifically, is teach AI how to be great at creating art. What is it, if you're looking for a piece of art that makes you feel like something, what are those colors? If you want art to have a meaning, how are you able to translate that to a human through something that's generated by the computer? All of those things are the computer is learning from us, basically.
Yeah.
So, we definitely need that expertise.
Oh, okay.
Remember back to Terminator. When does the machine? Anybody Terminator fans here? When does the machine become self-aware? What year was it?
Oh yeah. I mean,
Is it 2037 or 2073? You're gonna go back and look at that because the machines become self-aware. They just now are they take over.
right.
That can happen. Well, anyway, Meloni Boatswain, thank you so much for joining us today. Give her a round of applause. We celebrate you. We admire all the accomplishments that you've had. She ran down all the places that she was traveling to and been to and going to, and so that's fabulous. We love hearing that, and your parents did well.
Thank you. I will. If my mom is not already tuning in, I will definitely tell her.
What's your mom's first name? Give her a shout out.
Betty Spates. Shout out to my mom. That's my homegirl, my best friend.
And
Yep.
rest in peace. Your dad's name?
Yep, Kenneth Boatswain. Kenneth Boatswain.
Both. Yeah, there you go.
Prospect St. Vincent. Yep.
Cool. That's EEC, isn't it? Eastern.
Yes, Eastern Caribbean.
Mm-hmm. They still have EEC dollars?
EC dollars, yes. Yep. We still use EC dollars.
Yeah, I've been down a few of the islands there, and they had the EEC dollars. Yeah. Stephen, who do we have next week?
Next week we'll have an open forum.
All right.
We try to do this once a quarter, and then we invite all the members to talk about ideas. And it's going to be the building block for our symposium that we're going to have the fourth quarter of 2023. And Meloni, one other individual I'd like to introduce to you is a president of the Black Business Association here in Los Angeles, is Sarah Harris. I know you and I are going to see each other in a few hours at the National Black Business Convention, and I'm on my way down to the Hyatt. But Sarah Harris is someone you definitely need to, not only is she the CEO and president of the Black Business Association, her family is the matriarch of Los Angeles Blackness. Sarah?
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Come on, Sarah. Come on.
Oh my God. I'm in transition trying to get ready to leave out.
Well, at least audio wise.
Yes. Thank you. Hi. Meloni, it's a pleasure, and I was so glad to be able to tune in today. I am sorry I'm not really in a position to come on screen right now, but I think that what you are doing is so amazing, so awesome, because I think it's more important than ever for us to champion and overwhelm this space. Is definitely needed. And yes, the Black Business Association is definitely a friend. Anytime looking to connect and wanting to employ and partner with the Black Business Association, please do. And we will be looking to highlight and bring to the forefront members in this space as well to empower them. So thank you so much for joining on here today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And, I just dropped my information in the chat. Please feel free to keep in touch with me. And we would love to, speak with your organization about doing some partnerships with Blacks in Technology. So we are looking to do more of the certificate programs in underserved areas. And of course, it takes sponsors. So if we can get the word out any way we can, ISACA, One in Tech, and Blacks in Technology are really on the move and trying to expand the technology certifications to our community.
Perfect.
Right.
We shall be reaching out for sure.
Also wanted to give out a shout out to the Vermont Slauson Economic Development Center. They host a Best Buy Teen Tech Center. So they have a new tech center that was done within the last 12 months, I believe. And it's pretty fabulous. So shout out to Vermont Slauson for getting our community and our youth involved in the technology. Cool. All right. So that concludes our broadcast. Thank you for joining us today. Meloni, thank you for joining us today. Tune in next week to the community briefing for an open forum. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We thank our guests who arrived: Delmy, Joseph, Emma, good to see you, Coach Ron, Deborah, Lee, and Jonathan, and Eric. Thank you for joining us today. And take care and make it a great week.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, everyone.
Mm-hmm. Recording stopped.